Hello and good day, everyone. Today I've got a special new video for you. I've got an adventurous one today. We're going outside, actually, specifically to a lake near where I live. This is Black Hills Regional Park, and I believe this is called Seneca Lake. Yeah, here's a little scout of the pier area, the fishing pier area of that park. You can see it gives you a nice lookout over the kind of the midpoint of the lake. This is where three sides sort of intersect, and during the peak season, summer months for this area, you'll see a lot of boaters going through here. There's actually a boat rental just 100 yards away from here, and some of the boats you can still see are just left out for the entire year. I think in this shot, yep, you can see those boats to the left of the gazebo. But this is going to be our bench for today. Pretty nice bench, got some markings already. That's good, don't have to worry too much about getting paint or materials everywhere, although I'd rather not have paint and materials get everywhere. I'd rather have it all contained in the palette. But nevertheless, here we have a little portable watercolor kit, as portable as it gets. All just fit in one tote. Pretty similar to my at-home setup, just I love this little brush holder. You'll see me set it up in a minute. First I'm gonna do a thumbnail sketch, something just to give myself an idea of what kind of composition I want to go for the main painting. My main priority is obviously the pier that we were just walking on, but from this vantage point you can see in my first sketch I'm doing a more realistic kind of perspective of the size of it, and it's rather small and not as prominent in the image. So in my second sketch I decide to make that the entire focus of the drawing, and that's what I end up going with. I think that instead of making this a totally realistic perspective exercise, I'd rather focus on emphasizing something that matters to me in this image, and for that, that's the pier that we were walking on. Yeah, you can see the brushes all standing now. It's a cool little setup, and we're gonna actually start out with a little bit of watercolor pencil to line it up. Usually I do more abstract kind of work than this, so you don't see me going in with a pencil on the start of most paintings, but on something that I'm trying to have a proper kind of representation of a real life subject, I'm going to be using a pencil to try to specify some things before I go in. The main thing is marking the space for the pier, the fence in front of it, and the tree next to it, as well as the tree line, the horizon line out there. You can see it's the same exact palette as last video. Really loving these colors. This is going to be the second major painting using these colors, and going right in with yellow ochre to start it off as the base kind of layer, base kind of color. I feel like every painting is a little bit of anxiety putting down that first stroke, because I mean, you don't have a painting out of one stroke. I mean, I guess there is such a thing as a one stroke painting, but usually you need hundreds, if not thousands, to make up a painting. So try not to stress too much about putting all that effort into the first. I feel like most of my paintings start out, even if I'm drawing something realistic, it starts out as an abstract. Um, you can't really tell what's going on just yet, but you can see the tree lines already there with just a couple of yellow splotches. This color is pretty accurate for the wood of the pier, the wood of the tree, the grass, so some of it in the trees as well. It's not so appropriate for the color of the lake itself, as it's quite blue. The color of the lake, it's not very. What would turn it green? I guess if it were filled with algae. It's not swampy like that. It's more clear. Though on this day it's extremely windy, so it's constantly moving in waves. And I try to add some of that definition in the painting. I think that the most important thing about this painting here is that it's encompassing an experience rather than just the visual qualities of something that I saw. You'll see later on how the whole thing ends up, but I think that the weather affects it. You know, I started sometime around 4 o'clock p.m. and it's fall, so the sun is setting a little bit earlier now. Around 6 o'clock is sunset. So you'll see by the time that I end this painting, it's starting to actually darken, and I think some storm clouds start to approach, because it really the weather really cools down as this painting develops. But here I am with the blue, the first little bit of blue. I believe this is the cerulean. I might be wrong. I'm doing this off of memory. I don't write any notes or anything. I'm just watching what you're seeing and commentating off of the dome here. The blue and ochre combine into a nice green on the paper. I guess this is what we call the wet on wet technique. Since the initial paint layer hasn't fully dried, the new paint that we're adding is going to mix into something new. Depending on how much agitation is, how much kind of smoothness to the blend that we'll get. I personally don't blend too much. I like to have flat colors and let them mix themselves on the paper, if that makes sense. Like, add a lot of water and just watch it mix, rather than me having the full total control using like a tiny bit of water and paint. As I think that the more water you use, the less predictable the outcome gets. But I like that a little bit. That's one of the appealing things to watercolor for me, I think, is how it spreads beyond what you might initially expect and becomes sort of I'm thinking like luminescent, but it's that translucency of the watercolor as it spreads out that I think is really magical. You can see in the lighter kind of blue sections, I really feel like just the little bit of blue is enough to make that impression of water. Just those couple thick lines are enough to make the impression of the clouds. Obviously I'm going to go in with a bit more detail of how I feel it's coming together, but on a base level, that is fine as it stands. At least I'll accept it. And with how this painting goes, I mean, I don't have the whole day to work on this painting, so I don't put in too much. I guess I don't put in too much detail into that sea, into that lake water. But I do think one technique I've seen in the past, tried in the past, that could work well here is adding something like salt or sand to the water. Not to the actual water, but to the paper here, because it's a deterrent from the water. Like anywhere that you put salt is going to absorb the paint, and it's going to leave a blank spot where there isn't going to be watercolor pigment. So in something like water, that can leave a nice rippling kind of effect, because that ripple is hard to do without just using either a very small brush and going in with a lot of fine detail, or I like the idea of using some sand to just give it a general texture, and that texture I think can bring it up a level so that it gives the water more definition on the page. That is not what we do here. This is strictly painting with the paint, but it's an idea. I like to drop something, some tip like that in case this inspires you to go out and paint with some watercolors, and you know, just enjoy yourself and nature. Become one with the painting here. Painting is painting. There's nothing really like it to have full control of an image through color and water and pigment. Yeah, I recommend trying it out if you like a chill way to express yourself. That's what I think I find so nice about this, is just how relaxing being out here on a chill autumn day painting by a lake. And it really frees the mind off of all the stresses between the day and whatever craziness might be happening in the world. And there's no reason to think about all these greater things in the world when it's just me, a lake, and a piece of paper, some brushes to mark all that paper up. Now I'm going in with the sharp angle brush and getting some finer lines in. I think this is becoming my favorite brush, as it has a lot of variability between super fine lines and just thicker splotches of paint. Yeah, you can see that it's doing the rails fairly well, and the pier itself is developing on the page. I hope you're enjoying the video. If you are, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. The pier is almost finished here. Got a bit of, I believe that's the ochre, the red ochre, to give a little bit more definition to the wood. See, it really makes it pop off of the blue. Lifts it up a little bit. One thing notable about this process is trying to keep that central area clear, because one thing about watercolor is it's very hard to go back to lights. It's good to work light to dark because you don't want those initial highlights to get covered in pigment, otherwise you lose white. I think there's some things like masks that you can put down like before you start painting, like a little bit of glue or something that when you paint over it, you just peel it off and it'll leave a clear spot where, you know, you get the highlights that way, the whites. But I don't really like to think in advance that much, so I don't use anything like that on a painting like this, and we're just trying to keep it relatively clear. One solution if I mess up is just add more water, but then of course it takes longer to dry. Then as I get towards completion, I don't want it to be too wet, even though I'm doing a wet on wet, as I do have to pack all of it up to be able to go. The finickiness of paint, but also it's good that it's watercolor. Something like acrylic or especially oil would have a much harder time drying out here, I think. Although I feel like acrylic's probably the fastest drying of the three. It kind of just turns into a plastic real quick, and then it's like a rock. But the watercolor just dries into the paper rather than drying itself as a pigment, I feel like, because you can always reactivate it and give it a new life. You can see now it's really gone a lot darker. This is about an hour after starting to paint, and I'm coming in now with my favorite color, the dioxazine purple, to give it a couple of highlights. I'm mainly doing the hatch of the what do you call it, like a lattice in the back of the pier that you can see, as well as a little splotch for the sign, for the signage, saying danger about the water, but also a little area in the very back. I did intend to cover this up more with more colors and more definition, but as you can tell by the weather, this will be the end of the painting soon, and not entirely by my choice. It's sort of the Mother Nature herself telling me it's time, you're out. Actually, my GoPro died at this very moment, so the rest of this will be done with a little bit of handheld phone. I'm sorry about that, but this right here is actually my favorite section of the entire painting, which is the deep autumn trees that we have right behind the pier. Using a few different yellows, reds, and a couple of blues to just make a thick kind of canopy with all sorts of autumn colors. You can see all these greens, reds, and yellows in that tree line. Let me know what you think of the shot. I think this is my first for the up-close brushwork, and I actually had a lot of fun recording this part, so I'm curious what you think. Please leave a comment below. how you feel about this kind of shot. I'll try to get it incorporate it more into my future videos. In general, this is my third YouTube video on this series, and it's in a third different style. So do let me know what you like, what you don't like. I'm very, very much exploring this medium of YouTube, just like exploring this medium of watercolor. It's a lot of learning at the same time. Lovely little yellows to blend into that blue, make a fresh green, something that you wouldn't necessarily expect at first. You gotta mix the colors to make something new. You can see how much the sky has changed. It's dark, but that's our finish. Added a couple more details to the tree and just lighten up the close-up grass. That's my favorite part. Thank you so much for watching. I got a little outro for you of the drive, actually the drive-in, but we're gonna act like it's the drive out. A little bit of music to close you off. Yeah, let me know what you think of this painting. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful night. I'll catch you in the next one. I'm releasing these videos. My goal right now is weekly videos. Every Friday around 4 p.m. Eastern time will be releases. So yeah, subscribe for the journey, and hopefully I'll see you then. Take care.